everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Boozadelic Chronicles on the Comedic Fortitude channel. My name is Clark, and I'm your host today, and it is my pleasure. I have a very special guest in the audience, or not in the audience, but to appear today on my program, and his name is Mr. Norman, the boogiecat Sylvester. Norman, welcome to the show, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Clark, for inviting me on for the interview. I'm honored to be here.
All right, Norman. So, man, I haven't talked to you in just the longest time. And
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And I was thinking the last time I actually saw you perform would have been up at the Jenkins place, Clyde's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, when Norman Sylvester and his band's in the house, it's a party, y'all.
Yeah, it ain't nothing but a party.
Yeah, because you like to play not just the blues. I mean, you even played some Morris Day and the Time, some Funkadelic, and when the P-Funk comes on, I just go crazy.
Yeah, I know you do, man. Bootsy Collins, man.
Oh, yeah.
George Clinton.
So, Norman, when did you actually start playing the blues?
I started playing blues guitar. My dad bought me my first guitar when I was a sophomore at Jefferson High School in 1961. And it was a $11.95 acoustic guitar from H&B Pawn Shop. Told me if I learned 3 or 4 songs on that guitar, he'd buy me an electric. So I met a guy by the name of Isaac Scott, who was, he moved away from Portland later to become the king of Seattle blues. And we met at Faith Tabernacle Church over on the corner of Williams Avenue and Wygant at Elder Osborne's church, Danny Osborne's father. And he taught me how to play a few songs on that acoustic guitar. Now my dad bought me an electric, and I've been playing guitars since then. So I started in high school. Okay,
so that puts some perspective on it, because I was thinking, what year did you play your first gig at?
I played my first live gig, I guess, in church at, we played for the service at the church back in the 60s, man. So that was my first live music playing in front of people for the choir and for Danny and Louis Osborne. They had a little quartet called the Archangels. Okay. And Isaac and I played guitar for that quartet. And my dad exposed me to gospel quartet music because he sang when we were in Louisiana. I was born in Bonita, Louisiana. So my dad sang in a gospel quartet. So I was around that a cappella group for the longest. And then when he added the guitar, I saw what the guitar did with the harmonizing voices. And I fell in love with the gospel and guitar and vocal thing. But when I go to town in Bonita, when I was a little kid, I would hear B.B. King and Muddy Waters and all those guys on the jukebox in the cafe, where we get the hamburgers and all that stuff. So I had the blues, but my grandmother was a religious lady. So back in the South, we didn't have no blues in our house. So fast forward, we moved to Portland, Oregon in 1957. Okay. And, so I came to Portland, Oregon. I was in the 7th grade and went to Boyce Elementary School for the second half of the 7th grade. And I graduated from the 8th grade from Boyce, and I graduated from Jefferson, class of 1963.
Okay, that's the same year I was born.
There you go.
So that really just puts a perspective on how long you've been involved in the music. And I mean, it really shows in the music. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity to see Norman Sylvester and the Norman Sylvester Band, you played around here, you play in a few clubs like the Spare Room, but I mean, the Blues Festival on the Waterfront, which is a really big show. And if you ever get the chance, hopefully next year we'll get the Blues Festival back. That is a great venue to check it out.
Well, Clark, a real important part of my story, man, is that, we have dreams that we aspire to do. Music was my dream, but family was my commitment. So I worked in the Teamster industry for 25 years down on Swan Island. So, I was going to work every day, 24/7, 365 days a year, so I'm playing guitar on the side through after high school and all the way up to 1990. But, God had a plan for me to keep the music as a part of my life as therapy. So I was playing music on the side. So basically I played my first live what you might call a blues gig or that kind of thing at the Monoma Hotel in downtown Portland, which is, it's been closed for many years. It was the sister hotel to the Benson Hotel. But I played my first gig there with the late Frankie Redding, who they call the Funk Master, and Isaac
Yes.
Scott on guitar. You know, we played a little gig there. So I kept my feet in the water with the music as I was working trucking. And back in 1969 was when I made my first recording, which was a 45 disc over in Vanco Records in Vancouver, Washington, with a band called Rated X, which in those days was a 9-piece soul band. And I was still working trucking. So I started that band. We recorded, you know, what was some of Slickophonics was around in those days. Pleasure hadn't got started yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we were kind of like the big funk band at the time, but I was still going to the trucking company. So I had to end that band because I got a shift change. So away went that from my music, you know what I'm saying? So fast forward to 65, I go to the Reed College Commons to see Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy, you know, he playing the guitar with his teeth. He was playing guitar with a handkerchief, you know, and on the break, I go back and the road manager let me go back to shake his hand, and my wife at the time and I went back and I told Buddy I played guitar. And he said, well, do you know any blues? I said, yeah, I know some blues. And he said, well, you want to play a couple songs with the band to open up for my second set? And I said, man, I don't have a guitar. And he had his road manager give me his guitar. And I went out and opened the second set for Buddy Guy in 1965. And I was hooked at that point on playing the blues and having blues as a part of my music repertoire and my playlist.
Wow, that's an amazing story. My buddy Guy, I had the opportunity to see him live not too long ago on Facebook. I mean, and I'm guessing, what is he, 90 something now?
No, really, Buddy's in his 80s, but he and Bobby Rush are the top elders of the blues now since B.B. passed away. See, so fast forward, man, it was a place called a D Street Corral that we used to have here in Oregon, in Portland. And BB played a concert there. So I go to see BB at the D Street Corral. I'm working trucking at the time, but, you know, my path is still going, God's guiding me, you know, through having music as a part of me. So I go to D Street Corral and I talk my way backstage to see BB. So I'm talking to BB and BB tells me about, I pick his brain about, hey man, how do you get that sweet sound? Why you do this and how you do that? And he finally told me, he said, it's not what you play, which note you play, it's how you play it, the emotion, the space you put in it. He said, because the music, the blues is like a conversation. You got to leave some air in there so the other person can feel what you're trying to say. So at that point, I felt like I was getting the Holy Grail. So at that point, the road manager come back from the stage with Lucille in his hand. And so BB tells the road manager, why don't you give it to this young man here and let him put Lucille in the case. And when that guy gave me Lucille to put in the case, in that velvet guitar case, man, it was tears in my eyes, man, because, you know, what an honor to do that. So fast forward to the first Waterfront Blues Festival in 1987, which was the Rose City Blues Festival. My band played there with the late Janet Scroggins on keyboard, my daughter Lynn Ann, and my two nieces, my niece Esther Leader and my late niece Rhonda. They were the Sweet Things. And my brother-in-law at the time, Ray Nelson, was on drums, and I had Kenny Watkins on harp and saxophone. I played all original music that I wrote myself. Okay, so a month after that, I get a call from a promoter that said, Mr. Sylvester, I saw you set at the Rose City Blues Festival, and I was wondering if you wanted to open for B.B. King at the Arlene Schnitzer Hall. And I thought it was a joke. I said, no, man, I got to wash my car, man. I ain't got no time for that. What you talking about? And he said, I'm serious. He said, I'm serious. He said, you was the only cat that played all original music at that show. and I don't think you'll get in BB's way for what BB's going to play. So we had just played the dedication for the Arlene Schnitzer, which was the Paramount back in the day, where everybody went to see Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores and the Gap Band and Sliding the Stones and all that stuff. So now it's the Schnitz. So we played the dedication in the park blocks. So my band was the first local band to open the show at the Arlene Schnitzer Hall, and we opened for BB. The road manager, the booker, gave me 17 free tickets, comps. Wow. I had my sisters. I took my whole family in. We partied with the band after the show, and BB, I got to hang with BB. I got a nice photo of me and BB together, man. It was just a blessing. But one of the highlights of that show was Janice, Janice Scroggins, who's the genius in music. She was on stage. So I thought about it. I said, this is probably the greatest keyboard player I'll ever work with. So what I did was, I said, ladies and gentlemen, it was a baby grand on stage, and Janice playing an electric keyboard, so I know she could kill. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was before my last song. I said, I'd like to relinquish the stage to Janice Scroggins to just play a solo piece on the baby grand for you guys. And my band walked off the stage, and Janice played a Scott Joplin piece, man, and went into a W.C. Handy kind of a thing, man, and got a standing ovation. And we came back and closed out the show. But if anybody ever asked me who inspired me more than anyone, I said Janice Scroggins. She was the wind beneath my wings. She took my music, my original music, and made it sound like, she took it from being barbecue and black and catfish and kind of added it up to filet mignon steak. You know what I'm saying? It took it to another level. So, you know, she was the driving force for my band for many years until everybody wanted her, like Paul DeLay wanted her, then Curtis Salgado wanted her, then Lloyd Jones. So she played with all of us, the Oregon Symphony, the OBT Ballet Company. So Janice was the glue that held my music together, because I started writing music because I was influenced by Langston Hughes during the Renaissance of Harlem. So his writings influenced me to write down my adventures at the trucking company on Swan Island. Uh-huh. So those poems in the key of blues, that book that I'm trying to write right now with all those poems, those turned into my first CD that Janice helped me put together, man. Well, you know, of course, it was a cassette first. Remember those?
Right. See, these youngsters don't know anything about when your cassette breaks and you have to take that bad boy out and splice it together.
And if you gave a young kid a cassette now, they'd probably put it up to their ear and try to hear something out of it. And also A-track, you know, that whole thing. But, you know, my journey, man, in this town is just, it's been blessed, man. You know, I'm just, I stayed true as much as I could to all kinds of music. On my set, I'll play Sly Stone. I'll turn around and play a Sam Cooke. I'll turn around and play a Eric Clapton and go back to Bootsy Collins and jump right back up and do a Bill Withers, do a Norman Sylvester, fall back and do, you know, Horace Silver Song for My Father, you know what I'm saying? So we try to cover it all.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that in the times I've caught you out performing live. It's, you know, one big party, man. It's like you stay in that groove, you know, mix it up like you were talking about with the different artists and throwing your own stuff. It's just wonderful. So I was going to ask you, so B.B. King actually told you that you should, or encourage you to actually go into music full time.
He did. He said, you know, once you go full focus on something, once you concentrate on that thing, it'll open up for you. And now I really don't know, you know, what would have happened if the company I had worked for doing the deregulation of trucking through the wrong Reaganomics and the whole thing, PIE went broke in 1990, which was 8,000 people out of work. Mm-hmm. I was one of them. I worked my way in 23 years on that company from the grease pit, greasing trucks, working on tires and all that stuff, to the purchasing agent's job. But when I went to PIE, I started in 68. I had just graduated from heavy duty equipment mechanic school. I got an associate's degree in heavy duty equipment mechanics and arc welding and acetylene welding. But Clark, I figured out that I did not want the welding sparks falling up in my collar. And then I saw what mechanics' fingers looks like. And I said, well, I don't want to be a mechanic. So I ended up just working in the shop and filling in the parts department. Then a guy left out of that parts department. I put in for that job, worked as a counter person. And when the parts manager retired, I got his job. So I worked up to the top in that. So, it's just paying the dues, like BB says, paying the cost to be the boss.
Right.
Our journey, man, my grandmother always told me, you can't ride all the time. Sometimes you got to be rode.
Oh yeah, that definitely sounds like one of the Louisiana grandma sayings, doesn't it?
But we can't forget old George Page, man, over at Cable, who was one of my best friends, man. He put me on the airways over at Cable, and I'd go over there and do the show with him, and he'd take a vacation. One time I went in and did his whole show as the DJ with the engineer helping me do the show. So, it's just that camaraderie and brotherhood like you and me. You were back during the time that Norman Jr. was at Tubman.
Right.
Yeah, you was working over there, so we go way back to that. Norman Jr., the kid that was at that school now, he's 30, what, he pushing 40 now, I think?
See, I was thinking about that before we got on this call. It's like, Norman has to be at least 36 now.
36.
Yeah, at least. I mean, I don't know what year, because I know he played basketball for me.
Yeah.
And he was there with Naeem's boy, Hakeem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he went to Benson. He went to Benson, but right now he's doing, he's a member of Local 305, which is the union that I retired from.
Okay.
And he delivers Starbucks stuff at night, all the Starbucks around the city. So he's got a good paying job. He's right now in the lottery to be a longshoreman. He's got really high number that he on that list to be called to be a longshore. But he's also a techie, so he can take a computer apart and put it back together too. So he's a smart kid.
Well, nothing surprises me, because when he played ball for me, man, I mean, he was kind of like the glue as far as the brains of the operation and stuff.
Yeah, man.
Out there and stuff. The other guys had the athletic ability. Norman just had the smarts and knew how to get his position and stuff. And that's what I really appreciated about Norman Jr.'s game.
Yeah, he appreciates, and I appreciate your mentorship too. It's just, like I also do artist in residence, teaching young kids about the history of music. I played. I did artist in residency at Boise Elliott, and I recently did a 6-year stint at Irvington.
Okay.
And I recently, before the pandemic, was working with the Bravo Youth Orchestra. They were going to do a couple of my original songs with the youth kids, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We were going to do a concert at Revolution Hall on April 5th. But because of the pandemic, all of that got canceled.
Right.
So
yeah. I also saw that when I was reading your, when I was on your page, the Norman Sylvester Band page, you do some work with the state penitentiary, or you did some in the past?
Yeah, I did. I took, I did Columbia River Correctional Institution. I did the Big Pen. I did, I think another minimum security pen up in institution up in Salem. So yeah, I do that as well. But the thing about it is that I do a lot of rest homes. I work with Marquis Piedmont. I've been doing a free concert with them for 6 years, where they bring all the residents outside to the parking lot on a sunny July day, and my band go in free. And I call my friends, and whoever show up and sit in. The late Lloyd Allen, he used to come there and play with me all the time. And our friend, Paul Knowles, the mayor of Alabama, he would be my MC. So So and also, I'm working with Healthcare for All Oregon. I booked music for that festival, which was the Inner City Blues Festival, which started back when Jesse Jackson was running for president. It was started at the Royal Esquires as
Okay.
Jam for Jesse. Then it turned into the Inner City Blues Festival, went for about 7 years, and then they disbanded that. When they came back about 9 years ago, they called me and said, let's get the group back together for Healthcare for All Oregon. So we put on the last few shows at the North Portland Eagles Lodge. About 800 people attended. And it's just, the money went toward the education fund for the Healthcare for All Oregon Education Fund to help the campaign for universal health care, everybody in, nobody out. Because right now, we're seeing the inadequacy of middle-class individuals for health care, because we shut down for a month and folks was running out of money, man. It was just like everything needs to be revamped. So let's not talk politics, but music can be a part of generating a cohesiveness and conversation for all these things to correct, to educate kids, to help the healthcare movement, to help the prisoners incarcerated, that whole thing, and also in the churches to save the soul. So music is the nucleus that holds our society. Art, music, and art holds our society together.
And that's why they say music is universal. It's that vibrational frequency.
Yeah,
As we know, everything runs on a vibrational
yeah,
frequency.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I was also reading that you've done over like 4,000 live performances or shows.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, you play pretty much anywhere, like you were talking about, and everywhere, all these different causes. It
yeah.
reminds me of one time I was at work at TriMet on my supervisor shift, and my buddy Muhammad called me, and he said,
Mhm.
"Hey, man, there's this brother down here that knows you, man. He's in a band, and he's dressed like a pimp." I thought, "Oh, you must be talking about Norman." He said, "Yeah, that's it, Norman Sylvester." And you were playing over there in Milwaukee, I guess, at the by the transit center over there. They
Oh
have like
yeah.
Saturday market and stuff going on over there sometimes. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Over in the Oak Grove area.
yeah.
Clark, the honors that, like I was voted into the Oregon Music Hall of Fame in 2011.
Hmm.
And, as a kid, when I came here from Louisiana, I was shy. I talked with a Southern drawl. And when kids would ask me questions just to hear me say stuff so they could laugh at me, you know what I'm saying? So, and I was, once I learned how to play the guitar, and I'm self-taught. I'm a self-taught musician, kind of like a lot of the Southern cats. And the guitar became my shield that I could hold, and it kind of took the shyness away from me. For Healthcare for All Oregon, I've sang on the Capitol steps up in Salem for rallies for them. Singing a song I wrote called "Healing the Healthcare Blues." So all of this stuff, man, music made it happen. But I wouldn't be nothing without the folks out of the Mississippi Delta that put this music together in them cotton fields, man. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because that's where I got all this stuff from. This is what laid the foundations for the American music today, was all of those tear-stained eyes and mournful cries out of those cotton fields, man. And that's the foundation of music today, man. I'm standing on the shoulder of female and male giants, every time I take the stage.
So yes, that's awesome. That's all I can say, and you can definitely tell where that spirit and the influence, and where your work ethic came from by the people you
Yeah.
named off. And
Yes.
I can think of, I don't know a whole bunch of different blues musicians. I mean, you're definitely in my top five as among my favorites, and that would include B.B. King, because that's what my dad used to listen to all the time.
Oh yeah.
That would include John Lee Hooker Jr., who I got to meet at the Aladdin Theater back when I was driving
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
bus back in 2009, 10, somewhere around there. And of course, Muddy Waters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that Mississippi mud sound. And then when first time I saw you playing, I was like, man, he sounds just like that, or not with his own flair.
Yeah, and that's that journey, man. Like I'm saying, man, when I opened for BB in 1987, in 1999 I opened for BB and Buddy at the uh, uh, Eugene Blues Festival. Since then, I've opened for Coco Taylor, James Cotton, Tower Power, Peter Frampton, the Five Blind Boys, Alabama, Mavis Staple. I played ahead of the Oregon Symphony to open up their season when James the Priest was there, jamming with Jimmy. He called me and said, "Would you open up the symphony for me?" And I just blown away, man.
Wow.
And I took Janice to that too. Then with Patrick Lamb with the Ray Charles tribute, I sang What I Say in that recording session, and we hung at the Snitz, man, for 3 days with a Sunday matinee,
Wow.
with the Oregon Symphony, man. 21 musicians, Janice and Leah Warfield and the whole crew, man, Lee Garrett, So that's what I'm saying, dude, is that I'm 75 this year.
Wow.
And I'm just want to tell you, man, that all the stuff that's happened to me, man, and I just feel like my journey has been really, really blessed, man. And, I'm just content at, just keep moving forward, man. Just keep moving forward, and camaraderies like you and I have, and, the brotherhood that we have, it's just a wonderful thing. The fact that you even called me for this interview in the midst of this pandemic is a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you, man. I just had to reach out, especially after I saw your little Backyard Blues series,
That's the first one I put out was I Believe in You. And the next one was Keep America Safe. Mm-hmm. And the last one I put out was Test, Track, and Trace. And that's just what we got to do to effectively get back out there because, man, our lives have been changed forever, because you look at what we're doing here now. We did the same thing for our family for Easter and Mother's Day. So we was talking to people from Washington, D.C. to Texas to Wyoming, dude, all on the screen saying hi. So go back to last year, you might not have even made that phone call to that person.
Right.
You see? But with this shutdown like this, we reaching out and we got Zoom, we got Skype, Google Hangout, you name it, man. It's just now musicians are trying to figure out how to stream and play in synchronicity on the screen together.
And I was gonna say I've seen some of that already, but I'm trying to figure out how they're able to pull it off, because as you see, we get glitches in our conversation right now because everybody's working from home and all the kids are online now. And so it's like kind of slowing down the bandwidth, but I'm just thinking this technology is amazing, man.
Well, look at something called Jam Kazam.
Jam Kazam, okay.
Jam Kazam, and you can have panned out, like I saw on that tutorial that I just looked at yesterday. They had like jazz players and symphony players, all playing in synchronicity, all synchronized on 4 different panes in the gallery. So it's there, but the whole thing about is the interfacing of how you can implement that. Do you have the equipment?
Right.
And in the old, like what I call the old days. Now I'm calling the old days back in February. Because we're in a new day. So in the old days, in February, if you could just get through a rehearsal with your piece of crap, little PA in your studio, and whatever you had in your speakers that you've had for years. Now you got to get an interface for your laptop, and you got to do this, and you know what I'm saying? Because what you see on the other end of the stream is very important what you hear. So I think we, like I'm an old cat, man. So I'm on a learning curve, like crazy, trying to learn this whole stuff, new streaming thing, because I think for this year, with all of my gigs canceled, I was selected to play the Calgary Blues Festival up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It canceled 2 weeks ago. And that's scheduled for August 1st. So that went away. The Waterfront Blues went away. A lot of casual gigs went away. All my club dates are gone. So streaming is going to be our thing for the rest of this year. So that's going to be our new normal.
Yeah, so I think if we just look at the positives in this situation, we can find a way for people to still be able to enjoy the music. For
Right.
the I think a lot of great music is going to come out of these times because
Hmm.
I mean throughout our history it always has. Every time there's some sort of like crisis going on.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to seeing how these challenges improve what's got going on right now.
Right.
But I really can't wait till we can get back to the live performances. I got to get
Yes.
to an outdoor venue.
Oh
Like
yeah, get out the house, man. Yeah, because this is kind of like to us, it's like a national disaster. It's like a Katrina.
mhm.
It's like a war, but this is an invisible enemy. We don't know where it's going to be with us for a long time. So
Right.
the vaccine is what we need, man, before we can really just say chill and we're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
But because it's just like now it's out there with the common cold, it's out there with cancer, it's out there with this and this and this. It's there.
Right.
We just got to find a way to actively resume our activities with caution and safety for our children, and especially my age, being on that age group, I got to be diligent myself for my safety.
Yes, I have to do the same because of my autoimmune disease, and
Mm,
then I worry about my mother because my mother now she's 82. She just turned
right.
82 a couple
Yeah.
last month, and
Yeah.
so it's just like we're going out into the battlefield really. Every time we go out there, we're taking a chance.
We are, and I think folks need to just, of course, the politicians are going to tell you one thing, but as we were brought up as kids to use our common sense. Just make that common sense judgment.
Mhm.
You want to keep everybody safe. Of course, we want to run the streets and do our thing like we used to, but um, there's limitations to what you can do. So you just got to be thoughtful about that, and dedicate yourself to safety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So before I forget to ask you this one,
Hmm.
uh, you have an event coming up here at the Alberta
Yes.
Theater involving the streaming.
Yes. And they were originally going to do it from my house, but
Oh,
my studio is in the back of my house, and my router is in my dining room. So they would need 125 foot of Ethernet cable to get out there.
oh,
So I said, okay. And I didn't, at first I didn't want to go out of my house, but we're going to go to the Alberta Rose Theater, my daughter, myself, and my bass man. And we're going to use a drum machine and do a little intimate little concert at the Alberta Rose at 7 o'clock on the 17th of May. And you can go online at the Alberta Rose and subscribe for that show.
okay. And I'll go ahead and put that in the description. So you mentioned your daughter
Uh-huh.
and
Lynn Ann,
Linnea.
Lenanne, yeah, Lynn Ann.
Okay, and so I wanted to ask you about your daughter and also your lovely wife, Paula. Happy birthday, Paula. I know you had a birthday a couple days ago.
Yeah, she had a birthday yesterday,
Yesterday,
and
yes.
yeah, we've been married 26 years this year. And my daughter Lenanne, she got her master's degree at USC in performing arts, and
Okay.
now she's the community outreach person for All Star Staffing, and she also works with me. So she, she reaches out to churches and prisons and women's prisons for transitional uh, employment and occupations and stuff like that. So that's what she does in the daytime, and she's like I guess we're like superheroes. We go into the phone booth and we change, and we come out and go into the world to play blues and music and R&B and make people smile at night. So she's helped me a lot, man, and it's been a real blessing to have the extended relationship working with my daughter, and she's got this beautiful voice and she can sing harmony with me, which helps me a lot. So she's like the the top of the this banana split. You know, she's the goodness of the whipped cream and the cherry on top and stuff. You know, so she has a lot. She's a phenomenal. The secret to my life, man, is that I've been surrounded. See, there was a shortage of men in my family. Now, they called me baby brother when I was a kid in Louisiana because I was like the first little boy to come up in the family. So I've been surrounded by so many phenomenal women in my life. You know, it's just helped me, you know, just stay, you know, uplifted and stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? That support.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what I want to jump into now, I have a video. Let me see if I can share my screen with you guys here. Okay, can you still see me?
I can.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's see if I, okay, let me, I had to press this share button here. Okay, here we go. So let me make this a little bit bigger for the audience if I can. Maybe it's not gonna let me, but let me get it playing if it will. Come on, play. Oh, it was, well, unfortunately, we're having some technical difficulties on that with the video playing.
That's cool, man. I got a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I look at my Facebook for my current pandemic songs that I've written. My CDs are available at iTunes and CD Baby for downloads. CD Baby, I think, closed their physical sales, I think. But you know, my music is out there. My website, which is kind of crazy right now because there's no gigs to put on it. You know, but there's information about the band at www.normansylvester.com.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool website. I was on there going through it the other day before, you know, as I was prepping for this interview here.
Yeah,
and just, you know, tells your story and everything. It's just some amazing stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, since I used to actually drive the big buses in Portland, I turned around the other day and I look and I see my man Norman Sylvester, the boogiecat, is on the bus. Big old picture of Norman Sylvester on this bus now.
Yeah, that was, you know, I was playing a gig in Vancouver, Washington for the city of Vancouver, and they put my picture on that bus for their concert series. And since then, there's been a mural donated at the airport and the tunnel going to the north parking lot. In that tunnel, there was about 130-foot mural. And the Norman Sylvester, they chose my image to go in that tunnel, man. So when you come in the Portland airport, you're going back to the parking structures and stuff. There's a multicultural mural there with Rose Festival Princess, Vanport picture there, and City of Roses, the whole thing. It's a beautiful, huge mural all the way up to the ceiling, man. So the boogiecat in there, Norman Sylvester, I was in tears, man. I had to go to a Port of Portland meeting for the Port Commissioners for the dedication. I had to speak and give my gratitude. And with tearful eyes, man, I gave that speech about being honored to be in PDX on a mural, you know, at 74 years old, man. I never, you know, when I was a kid coming here in 57, man, from the South, I walked out the door of Union Pacific train station down there, man. I looked up in Portland, man. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what my journey would be here, you know, at the age of 12, you know, it just has come to this day. And, you know, to be at the airport, to be on the bus, to be in the Hall of Fame, you know, to have children and grandchildren and, you know, property and, and my health. I've had surgeries and stuff like this and health things that I've survived, but that's the journey of life. And, it's just a wonderful journey, man. I just, to just give my own testimony, it's just a wonderful journey, man.
Well, that's you answered my question, because I was thinking that you're such a humble guy. What would it feel like to see yourself, on the side of a bus, to see yourself in this tunnel?
Dude,
you
I
know.
didn't know about the bus, man. Folks was calling me, man. Said, man, you on the bus, man. You're on the bus. So now I'm driving around trying to see the bus. So my wife and I sitting at the intersection of Peninsula and North Lombard, and I almost wrecked my car. The bus pulled up beside me, and here I am looking at me, up there, huge, and my wife, I'm trying to give her my phone. Take a picture, I'm following the bus, man. It was like Keystone Cops out there, man, trying to get a picture of that bus.
That's so cool. I mean, it's really cool that you get to see something like that, while you're still here on this earth, in this form.
Yeah. Really, man. I really, I look at it that way too. I'm really thankful and humbled by it, because, I'm just a man to put, just like any other man, just doing what I think I should be doing, I'm not exalted above anyone. I feel like, when I go to the gig, man, I'm just going there because I love music. I know people have things in their lives that they need to leave with that music when they have a good time and party and all that kind of stuff. And that's a wonderful thing to share and let that music and the history of the music from the Afro-American point of view, being an Afro-American art form, to keep that preservation going, man. It's just, I feel honored to be able to do that, just to, to pick up that guitar, Of course, I'm not a Wes Montgomery or even a B.B. King, but at the end of the day, I can't be nobody but me. You know what I'm saying? I can sit down and play along with B.B. King's records, but when I turn it off, what I'm expressing on that guitar is all me. And sometimes, when you were lifting weights and doing your bodybuilding back in the day, man, and in competition, you'd get your personal best sometime. You say, man, you lift that weight that you hadn't lifted before. Mm-hmm. That happens to me when you hit that note that you didn't hit in practice, and the hair stand up on your neck, and say, whoo, and the tears come down into your eyes when you sing a certain phrase that has meaning to you, and you have to pull it back because you don't want the folks to see you cry, So those emotions that music wakes up, and personal best, like what I was saying about you, those personal best, man, we got to keep reaching those every chance we get, no matter what you do. I don't care what your profession is. If you reach those personal best from time to time, and you think, oh my God, it's like a new plateau.
Well, you have definitely realized your true potentiality, and that's pretty much the theme of my whole the Comedic Fortitude channel that I have on YouTube. It's just, I like to convey that positive message. I mean, yours is as organic of a story as I've ever heard, and it's just, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, like you said, you taught yourself how to play the guitar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now look at you.
I taught myself, if we could hear it, Isaac and I, if we could hear it, we could play it. We sit on the corner, my front porch of my parents' house. They bought it in 1959 on the corner of 9th and Goings. We still have it. It's got a wraparound porch. We'd sit our amps on that porch, and we just burn some Freddie King, man. And cars be pulling up to the curb, man. They parking in front of the house, and my mother would get a purse and leave because we'd be playing too loud. And she said, call me. I'm going to go over to my friend's house. Call me when y'all done, And, we just jammed up on 9th and Going on the corner, just playing Freddie King, BB, dun, 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 dun. We're just killing it, man. Would be coming over for the party.
The best part about that is she would grab her stuff and leave and let y'all play. I think my parents would be like, boy, turn that music down. So that is so awesome. Yeah. Well, I could talk to you all day, good brother.
Yeah, man, I could talk to you as well. I really appreciate the conversation and the interview, man.
So after this pandemic, I'm going to take you up on that lunch invitation. But
Okay, let's
I'm
go,
a
man.
I'm a vegan now, so I've got to find somewhere where I can eat my vegan food. But I
You
look
know what,
for.
man? I've been thinking about the vegan thing. I told my family on Mother's Day on the Zoom that I was gonna cut back on, cause I don't eat red meat as it is,
Uh,
but I was gonna go more toward vegan kind of stuff because I think at my age it would help anything. I don't have any health problems right now, uh, but I would think it could make my future a little bit cooler if I went a vegan way. So I might need to talk to you about your vegan choices, okay?
oh, definitely. I would love to
All right.
assist you. It was a welcome transition of my life. I was
Mhm.
surprised at how many different, flavorful foods that are out there beyond meat.
Okay. Well, see, like, my grandmother said, you got to learn something every day, man. You got to find a new
Hmm.
thing. And, this would be my new quest, man, is to, just find out more about the vegan type way, because I was watching a movie um, on Netflix about it. And Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bunch of people, the strongest man in the world, man, that lift Guinness Book of Record weight, vegan, man, all the way.
Oh, you watched the Game Changers.
Game changer. That's it, man.
Yeah,
Woo!
see, that was pretty instrumental in me making my final decision. I had switched up from a pescatarian. I was eating just, fish or
Hmm.
seafood and eggs for my
Hmm.
proteins, and all the rest were vegetables. But then it was like after watching that, I was like, man, I think I'm just gonna go all the way, and I haven't looked back since.
Dude, game changer. That's it, man. I watched that the other day, man. And actually, I heard about that on the Zoom on Mother's Day, and I watched the movie that evening. I said, "Whoa, I like this." The whole about the arteries and the whole thing. The way they talked about the anatomy and the circulation and the blood pressure, keeping it down, and helping with diabetes and that whole thing. So because hereditarily, we come from diabetes and high blood pressure and all this stuff in our heritage from the South because of the food choices we had
Right.
in those areas. So, my grandmother owned a 112-acre farm, and we lived in paradise, man. We didn't have to go to the store for nothing down there. My uncle owned 600 acres, man. So they were two of the biggest Afro-American landowners in northern Louisiana, man. So as a child, I got to run around in paradise, man. I can run all around the property with no shoes on in the summer, man, for the whole summer, man. Eating muscadine grapes off the fence road, man, and con trees and peanut patches, watermelon patches, sugar cane, you name it, man. Gardens with tomatoes this big, dude. You know,
Uh,
okra, you name it, corn, beans and peas, and cotton, man. I still, to this day, remember 110-degree weather, looking across acres of cotton that my uncle and grandmama owned when the cotton hadn't been picked or touched,
uh,
and it would look like snow in 110 degrees, man. You know what I'm saying?
that's
Across
beautiful.
that field, man. And then when my uncle they pick the cotton and put it in trailers and put it on big trailers and drive it to the cotton gin being towed by a tractor. My uncle would let my sister and I lay up in the top of the trailer on the top of the cotton.
Uh,
As long as you guys don't stand up, you can be up there, but you just lay down. So we'd lay up on these big bales of cotton on the way to the gin, and we'd look up at those blue skies in Louisiana, at those cumulus clouds, and we'd say, well, that one looks like an elephant, and that one looks like a lion. Oh, looks like a dog. And that's my childhood, man. In the South, man. Before we came out here, we was just in paradise down there, man. That was in the days of living off the land. So
yeah.
that's my start. My grandmother was midwife. She delivered me, and my sister brought us into the world. So Lula Johnson, she was a landowner and a midwife, man. So that's what I'm saying. Phenomenal women, man. My mother, I didn't come home a day from school that my mother wasn't in that living room and I didn't smell food cooking in the kitchen, man.
Wow.
So phenomenal women, man. It's just that push, to keep you look back and you draw energy from that, man. I to this day I'm still surrounded by my daughter, my wife, I got 4 daughters, 2 sons. My youngest son just handed in his thesis for Pomona College, and he's got his bachelor's. Anthony, he's upstairs doing. He's free now from college. They're gonna mail him his degree, you know, his bachelor's, and they kicked him out of college on the 18th of March. Man, flew him home, and he's been here ever since. And he worked from upstairs. So, like I say, I'm surrounded with all these blessings, man. The kids are doing good, and grandkids are doing good, and you know, here I am, you know, just waiting for this pandemic to be over, and praying for everybody, man, to be safe, and you as well, man.
All right. Well, give the family my best, and we'll talk to you later, my brother. Thank you so much.
All right, and I'll be talking to you about the vegan thing, okay?
All righty.
All right, Clark. Take care, man.
All right, you too.
All right.
Bye.